Look at this diagram outlining the human-AI task pipeline. We expect modern integration to operate exactly like this, a clean, linear flow from human input directly to a perfect output. But anyone who actually works with these systems knows that rarely happens. Instead of a seamless workflow, you hit a wall of specific, unnameable fatigue. A strange disorientation creeps in when you spend hours trading prompts with a machine. This diagram illustrates exactly what that friction looks like. Sawagi. Notice the red electric sparks where the woodblock meets the blue grid. This is not a software bug or latency issue. It is a structural collision between entirely incompatible operating systems. As long as we treat that collision as a mere technical hurdle, something we can patch over with faster processing or cleaner interfaces, we will never resolve the underlying exhaustion it causes. Curious? The root of this confusion starts with a single word we use to describe both human and artificial processing: attention. We borrowed a deeply biological term and applied it to a completely mechanical process. This split graphic breaks down the difference. On the right, we see the machine's version of attention. It computes co-relevant scores across a flat grid of blue text tokens. It is simply statistical sorting. Now look at the left side of the graphic, labeled existential selection. Biological attention operates completely differently. An organism actively cuts reality into foreground and background based entirely on what matters for survival and where it can act. Assuming that humans and machines process reality through the exact same kind of attention is a dangerous trap. It creates a false sense of trust, inviting us to surrender our judgment to a system that doesn't actually comprehend what it looks at. A machine navigates its environment using a boundless, uniform token space. Human cognitive power, however, doesn't come from unlimited processing. It comes from strict biological limitations. This infographic illustrates exformation. Every second, our senses take in 11 million bits of raw data, pouring in like the blue torrent. The brain actively discards almost all of it, collapsing that noise to just 40 conscious bits, creating a quiet background for anomalies. Those are not arbitrary limits. They are enabling constraints, sedimented into our biology and earned through the weight of lived consequences over millions of years. Here we see the contrast between two types of limitation. On the left is the AI, wrapped in a blue geometric cage. These are engineered constraints, algorithms and guardrails bolted on from the outside by programmers to simulate safety. Compare that to the organic wood-grain spine on the right, which grew its shape in response to the environment. An artificial intelligence has no lived history. Because it cannot experience consequences, it can never possess the earned constraints that make human judgment valuable in the first place. This chart tracks the existential orthogonality principle. As you scale an AI's computational capability along the horizontal axis, the line remains completely flat vertically. Throwing more computing power at a machine does absolutely nothing to increase its ability to care about real-world stakes. When we ignore that limit, we run straight into what this timeline calls the constitution problem. Look at the transition from time 1 to time 2. We take an AI that lacks consequence and use it as an oracle, stretching beyond our reach. The result is charted at time 3. You trade your experience-weighted judgment for the machine's pattern-weighted plausibility. Delegating decisions outside our natural reach doesn't make us more capable. It actively degrades the precise cognitive muscles we need to evaluate whether the AI's guess is actually correct. To fix this, we have to completely re-architect the relationship, drawing inspiration from the classic Oxford tutorial tradition. Instead of treating the AI as an oracle that hands down answers, we treat it as a sparring partner. This schematic demonstrates how that works in practice. We cast the AI in the role of a second student, strictly contained inside the user's circular wood-grain causal bubble. The machine's job is to generate computational friction against the human's ideas, not to replace them. Our tools must reflect this structural shift. Looking at this redesigned interface dashboard, you can see new mechanisms in place. The user locks in assumptions using a bubble statement, while a surprise register tracks discrepancies between expected and machine-produced outputs. By forcing the system to evoke thought rather than provoke a passive reaction, we actively strengthen our own hypotheses. We use the machine to make the human smarter. Look at this final diagram, titled WA. This represents the ultimate goal of human-AI integration. Harmony is not achieved by blurring the lines or having humans mimic machines. It is achieved by weaving together two distinct structures and maintaining their differences. The machine can gather data, weigh variables, and synthesize vast text corpuses. But there are three core human actions we must never outsource. We abduce, we interpret, and we decide. Cognitive sovereignty, the ownership of your own mind, is not a default setting that technology will automatically protect. It is a boundary we must ruthlessly defend.